A single flower bulb priced like a house in central Amsterdam. Contracts for flowers nobody has seen changing hands 10 times in one day. Then one group of buyers refuses to pay, and the first great bubble in European history dies. Everything about cryptomanias already happened almost 400 years ago. The Dutch Republic in the early 17th century was the Silicon Valley of its era. Having recently thrown off Spanish rule, this young nation built an empire on maritime trade, sending fleets to Indonesia and Japan. Wealth flooded into Amsterdam, which quickly became the financial capital of the world. In 1609, the city founded the Whistle Bank, introducing stable credit and pioneering the liquid financial instruments that keep global commerce moving. It was an unusually commercial, industrially advanced, and intellectually open environment, overflowing with cash and looking for yield. Just as cheap capital and internet access set the stage for modern crypto, this early liquidity boom created the perfect environment for a speculative mania. And while the Republic traded in spices and timber, it was an exotic Ottoman luxury, imported from Istanbul in the mid-16th century, that would ignite the fire. The spark was about to be struck in a professor's garden. In 1593, the University of Leiden appointed Carolus Clusius as its honorary professor of botany. Clusius was the ultimate arbiter of taste, a 16th century influencer who established the university's botanical garden and filled it with rare tulip bulbs originating from Istanbul. To the wealthy Dutch merchant class, these flowers were not mere plants. They were the ultimate luxury asset, a physical manifestation of high status. Clusius guarded his collection fiercely, refusing to sell his specimens, which only amplified their allure. But scarcity breeds obsession. When thieves scaled the garden walls and stole his prized bulbs, they inadvertently created the first limited edition hype drop. The stolen bulbs entered the black market, transforming an elite academic curiosity into a widely chased commercial commodity. Suddenly, owning a tulip was no longer about appreciating botany. It was about proving you belonged to the economic elite, triggering a desperate chase among the middle class to avoid being left behind. Owning a prestige asset soon became surprisingly democratic. While the wealthiest merchants tied up serious capital in East India Company shares, ordinary citizens discovered a much cheaper entry point where buying just a single bulb got you into the game. Respectable Dutch homes featured small backyard herb gardens perfectly suited for planting, and breeding new varieties required little technical skill. Almost overnight, the trade expanded from elite collectors to innkeepers, blacksmiths, and housewives. It was the 17th century equivalent of retail day trading on a smartphone. The financial mechanics were simple. Buyers acquired bulbs solely to flip them to the next participant at a premium. Early buyers profited simply because new participants kept buying in, creating a prototype of the modern speculative pyramid where survival depends entirely on finding someone else to hold the asset when the music stops. Outside the Dutch Republic, Europe was tearing itself apart. The 30 Years' War dragged on as Swedish armies slaughtered Saxons, Spanish forces pressed toward Paris, and a devastating plague swept through England in 1636. Yet inside Dutch taverns and brothels, a different kind of fever took hold, amplified by alcohol and intense social energy. In these raucous backrooms, tulips became pure abstractions. A single prized bulb could change hands 10 times in a single day, though none of the traders had ever seen the physical asset. Men who had never dug soil in their lives spent their evenings debating the potential weight of invisible roots. Participants were no longer buying flowers. They were trading wind handle, the wind trade, swapping paper promises of future deliveries. This was speculation stripped of its physical anchor, a 17th century precursor to trading unminted digital tokens or speculative meme assets. Satirists quickly captured the absurdity. Jan Bruegel the Younger painted monkeys buying, weighing, and weeping over tulip contracts, a biting allegory of human folly. But the mockery did nothing to cool the market. Tulip trading had completely detached from horticulture, transforming into a high-velocity game of social contagion and paper claims where survival depended on the music never stopping. By late 1636, the tulip market traded in pure paper. Yet paper does not buy estates, and promises cannot settle bar tabs. Where did the actual money fueling this extravagance come from? Answering that requires tracing the wealth backward, away from the tavern tables, and down toward the harbor docks. The cash flowing through these backroom deals was not conjured from thin air. It was generated by a massive commercial engine, built on global trade, early central banking, and maritime power. This commercial engine drove a financial reality where price completely detached from horticultural value. As early as 1623, an offer circulated of 10 Semper Augustus bulbs for 12,000 guilders, a sum that could buy a Grand Canal house in central Amsterdam. While elite specimens reached these heights, cheaper, common varieties remained affordable enough to pull in everyday speculators, widening the trading pool. The sheer scale of these valuations is illustrated by an Amsterdam tavern anecdote, where a merchant sailor mistook a priceless bulb for a common onion, eating it alongside a herring and unknowingly swallowing a year's worth of his own wages. By 1636, the trade had outgrown informal backrooms, leading to the creation of permanent tulip exchanges in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Haarlem, and Leiden. In these hubs, price itself became the ultimate social proof, entirely independent of any physical flower. Much like modern digital assets, value was no longer rooted in utility, but in the collective belief of the next buyer. The product was no longer a flower, it was the price tag itself. Paying those price tags required massive reserves of actual cash, underwritten by a global empire. Since capturing Jakarta in 1619, the Dutch corporate machine had seized Portuguese territories in Brazil, plundered Spanish treasure galleons, and dominated Baltic timber routes. This wealth engine ran on the Bank of Amsterdam, where a non-debased guilder and cheap free coinage created unmatched liquidity. The Republic's maritime power was so formidable that Peter the Great would later travel there just to study their shipbuilding. Much like modern quantitative easing and tech booms left investors flush with excess cash to chase speculative digital tokens, the Dutch Golden Age generated a massive mountain of idle capital. Tulips were never the base of the economy. They were the champagne, a volatile side casino funded by an imperial machine that could easily afford to play. On February 7, 1637, at a routine Haarlem auction, the spell broke. A buyer refused to pay the agreed-upon price for a bundle of common bulbs. It was a financially minor dispute, but psychologically fatal. Instantly, the confidence of the market seized. Wobble turned to rumor, rumor to panic, and panic to dumping. Paper contracts that had changed hands 10 times in a day became worthless. As the market crashed, speculators begged the state for a bailout. But municipal authorities refused a rescue. Instead, they offered a compromise. Buyers could cancel their tulip contracts by paying just 10% of the agreed value. This triggered a flood of lawsuits, but provincial courts refused to enforce the deals, classifying them as mere gambling. While the Republic's global commercial engine ground on, the localized financial carnage was real. Bankruptcies in Amsterdam roughly doubled in the aftermath. The lesson of 1637 was stark. A market built entirely on confidence can dissolve on a single act of doubt, and the state is under no obligation to save the gamblers. The 1637 crash didn't destroy the Dutch economy. It just cleared the casino floor. The system survived, leaving a permanent blueprint for speculative fever. What is today's tulip? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more economic history.